4. DOJ officials notified the White House of their concerns about Flynn. On January 26, 2017, Acting Attorney General Sally Yates contacted White House counsel Donald McGahn and informed him that she needed to discuss a sensitive matter with him in person. Later that day, Yates and Mary McCord, a senior national security official at the Department of Justice, met at the White House with McGahn and White House Counsel Office Attorney James Burnham. Yates said that the public statements made by the vice president denying that Flynn and Kislyak discussed sanctions were not true and put Flynn in a potentially compromised position because the Russians would know he had lied. Yates disclosed that Flynn had been interviewed by the FBI. She declined to answer a specific question about how Flynn had performed during that interview, but she indicated that Flynn's statement to the FBI were similar to the statements he had made to Pence and Spicer denying that he had discussed sanctions. McGahn came away from the meeting with the impression that the FBI had not pinned Flynn down in lies, but he asked John Eisenberg, who served as legal advisor to the National Security Council, to examine potential legal issues raised by Flynn's FBI interview and his contacts with Kislyak. That afternoon, McGahn notified the president that Yates had come to the White House to discuss concerns about Flynn. McGahn described what Yates had told him, and the president asked him to repeat it, so he did. McGahn recalled that when he described the FBI interview of Flynn, he said that Flynn did not disclose having discussed sanctions with Kislyak, but that there may not have been a clear violation of 18 U.S.C. 1001. The president asked about Section 1001, and McGahn explained the law to him, and he also explained the Logan Act. The president instructed McGahn to work with Priebus and Bannon to look into the matter further, and directed that they not discuss it with any other official. Priebus recalled that the president was angry with Flynn in light of what Yates had told the White House and said, "Not again, this guy, this stuff." That evening, the president dined with several senior advisors and asked the group what they thought about FBI Director Comey. According to the Director of National Intelligence, Dan Coats, who was at the dinner, no one openly advocated terminating Comey, but the consensus on him was not positive. Coats told the group that he thought Comey was a good director. Coats encouraged the president to meet Comey face-to-face and spend time with him before making a decision about whether to retain him. 5. McGahn has follow-up meeting about Flynn with Yates. President Trump has dinner with FBI Director Comey. The next day, January 27, 2017, McGahn and Eisenberg discussed the results of Eisenberg's initial legal research into Flynn's conduct and specifically whether Flynn may have violated the Espionage Act, the Logan Act, or 18 U.S.C. 1001. Based on his preliminary research, Eisenberg informed McGahn that there was a possibility that Flynn had violated 18 U.S.C. 1001 and the Logan Act. Eisenberg noted that the United States never successfully prosecuted an individual under the Logan Act and that Flynn could have possible defenses, and told McGahn that he believed it was unlikely that a prosecutor would pursue Logan Act charge under the circumstances. That morning, McGahn asked Yates to return to the White House and discuss Flynn again. In the second meeting, McGahn expressed doubts that the Department of Justice would bring a Logan Act prosecution against Flynn, but stated that the White House did not want to take action that would interfere with an ongoing FBI investigation of Flynn. Yates responded that the Department of Justice had notified the White House so that it could take action in response to the information provided. McGahn ended the meeting by asking Yates for access to the underlying information the Department of Justice possessed pertaining to Flynn's discussion with Kiziak. Also, on January 27th, the president called FBI Director Comey and invited him to dinner that evening. Priebus recalled that before the dinner, he told the president something like, "Don't talk about Russia, whatever you do." And the president promised he would not talk about Russia at dinner. McGahn had previously advised the president that he should not communicate directly with the Department of Justice to avoid perception or reality of political interference in law enforcement. When Bannon when Bannon learned about the president's planned dinner with Comey, he suggested that he or Priebus also attend, but the president stated he wanted to dine with Comey alone. Comey said that when he arrived for dinner that evening, he was surprised and concerned to see no one else had been invited.